Labour frontbenchers have defied Jeremy Corbyn to back Theresa May's tough line against Russia over the Salisbury nerve gas attack. The party leader is facing a mounting revolt from his own side over his failure to condemn Moscow following the attempted murder of a former spy on UK soil. Mr Corbyn was accused of parroting the Kremlin line in the Commons by making clear he did not accept that only Russia could have been the source of the military-grade Novichok agent. The veteran left-winger's chief spin doctor openly questioned the reliability of the UK security services, which have briefed Mr Corbyn on the nerve agent outrage. Two frontbenchers are said to have suggested they could quit over the stance, and Shadow Defence Secretary Nia Griffith today broke ranks to say she did not agree with Mr Corbyn and it was quite clear the incident was an act of aggression. "We fully support the government's action because we hold Russia responsible," she told BBC Radio 4's Today programme in an interview with the Daily Mirror. Ms Griffith said senior Labour figures had been briefed by security services over the attack on Sunday, March 4 that left Sergei Skripal and his daughter Yulia fighting for their lives. Asked if Mr Corbyn had undermined UK security assessments that it was highly likely Russia was behind their poisoning, Ms Griffith said, "Looking back, perhaps it would have been easier for us if he had made it clear at the beginning of what he said just how much we support the expulsion of the diplomats. It would have been easier and perhaps we would not have had the conversations we are seeing." Ms Griffith's comments were quickly supported by several Labour MPs. Exeter MP Ben Bradshaw said she was spot on, while Kingston upon Hull North MP Diana Johnson said she fully supported the Shadow Defence Secretary. Meanwhile, Shadow Foreign Secretary Emily Thornberry is said to have told a London seminar, "We utterly condemn this despicable act and support all the measures taken by the government today." Shadow Northern Ireland Secretary Owen Smith retweeted a Guardian op-ed backing Mrs May's strong response and commenting that it was absolutely right about the resolute, united strength we need to demonstrate in our response. Seamus Milne is Jeremy Corbyn's official spokesman, meaning he is entrusted to speak on the Labour leader's behalf. But he is hugely controversial among Labour backbenchers and has been accused of being an apologist for Joseph Stalin, the murderous communist dictator. Here are some of the controversial comments Corbyn's spin chief has made. Blames NATO rather than Russia for military tensions. "This anti-Russian incitement is dangerous folly. There certainly has been military expansionism, but it has overwhelmingly come from NATO, not Moscow." March 4, 2015, the Labour spin chief defends Vladimir Putin's annexation of Crimea as clearly defensive. "No Russian government could have acquiesced in such a threat from territory that was at the heart of both Russia and the Soviet Union. Putin's absorption of Crimea and support for the rebellion in eastern Ukraine is clearly defensive." April 30, 2014, Mr Milne says the Soviet Union helped to drive up welfare standards for all its brutalities and failures. Communism in the Soviet Union, Eastern Europe and elsewhere delivered rapid industrialization, mass education, job security and huge advances in social and gender equality. It encompassed genuine idealism. Its existence helped to drive up welfare standards in the West. February 16, 2006, Labour backbencher John Woodcock has tabled an early-day motion unequivocally accepting the Russian state's culpability for the attack and supporting fully the statement made by Mrs May in the Commons. A number of MPs have signed the motion, with some going public with their criticism of Mr Milne, who previously blamed NATO for Russian aggression in Ukraine and criticised sanctions as disproportionate. Labour MP Anna Turley tweeted, "I'm afraid Sumas doesn't speak for my Labour or British values." Shuka Yamuna said, "Mr Milne's comments do not represent the views of the majority of our voters, members or MPs." In a briefing for journalists yesterday, Mr Milne said, "The government has access to information and intelligence on this matter which others don't. However, also there is a history in relation to weapons of mass destruction and intelligence which is problematic, to put it mildly. So, I think the right approach is to seek the evidence to follow international treaties, particularly in relation to prohibitive chemical weapons." Asked if he could rule out the possibility of Russia being framed, the spokesman said the evidence pointed overwhelmingly to the two options set out by the PM. "In the meantime, I think it is essential we follow the evidence and what the evidence produces," he added. Labour moderates queued up to back the PM's tough words and actions in the Commons and take a swipe at Mr Corbyn's stance. Yvette Cooper chair of the Home Affairs Select Committee, said Russia's actions must be met with unequivocal condemnation. Mr Woodcock said, "This is day for the House to speak as one for the nation. And the Prime Minister will be reassured to hear that a clear majority of Labour MPs, alongside the leaders of every other party, support the firm stance she is taking." He was cheered by fellow Labour backbenchers as he made the comments. Labour MP Chris Leslie said Russia is thumbing its nose at the West and must be brought to heel. While fellow Labour MP Chris Bryant said, "I completely support everything the Prime Minister has said here today." Mr McFadden, a minister under Gordon Brown, said, "Responding with strength and resolve when your country is under threat is an essential component of political leadership. There is a Labour tradition which understands that, and it has been understood by Prime Ministers of all parties who have stood at that dispatch box. That means when chemical weapons are used we need more than words but deeds."
Where the freaks at?